the rise of nationalism in Europe. In my previous video, I have completed the introductory part, and now we are going to deal up with the first section of the chapter, and that is the French Revolution and the ideas of nation. So in this section, one of the most important thing which we are going to deal up is this: how practices during French Revolution develop feeling of collective identity. So first of all, what do you mean by collective identity? Collective identity means that we all are one, we all are united, all these feelings. How these feelings got generated among the people, that we have to see, and that is called as the collective identity. कि हम सब एक हैं, हम सब एक ही चीज़ को belong करते हैं. So the idea of nationalism, the first expression of nationalism, all this collective identity led to the feeling of nationalism. So the first expression of nationalism was given by French revolutionaries. The first time in the world that the feeling of nationalism, all we all are one, or this collective identity, this idea was suggested by the French revolutionaries. So how they have developed all this thing, how it was not easier for them to manage all these things, because at that time to oppose your monarchy or aristocracy was not an easy task. So how these revolutionaries generated this feeling among their people, that is very much important. That was a big challenge among them. So let us see what were the ideas of French revolutionaries and how they have created this feeling among their citizens. So here the first point is creating sense of collective identity. This was the challenge for French revolutionaries. So likewise, these are the things. First one is idea of la patrie and la nation. La patrie, this is the French words. So here this word la patrie, that means the fatherland. Like we used to say Bharat Mata as the motherland. Similarly, French people, they used to, the concept is of the fatherland. Okay, so this is la patrie and la nation. That means the people belonging to fatherland, that is the citizens. Like we are the citizens of India, likewise they are the citizens of France. So this idea was suggested. Then tricolor flag. French revolutionaries has introduced a revolutionary tricolor flag. Okay, this is a symbol to oppose monarchy. Whatever the symbols the monarchy or the aristocracy were using, this was to demoralize that and to promote their symbol. That is the tricolor French flag. Then election of state general. As we have seen in French Revolution, that state general were elected. Means the revolutionaries, they suggested the idea of elections, they suggested the idea of constitutions. Likewise, the election of state general and formation of national assembly. We have seen that the third state people, they have walked down from the hall, the assembly hall. Why? Because they were not happy with the decision of the king. That is why they walked down from there and they decided to form an operation body which is called by the name the National Assembly, and it must be having representatives. So likewise, the concept of elections and National Assembly, that means an administrative system or an administrative body which is running with the help of constitution. This idea was suggested. Then new hymns and oaths. Hymns and oaths, that means like we sing Jangan Man. Okay, that is our hymn. And oath, that means the pledge and all. Okay, so these were taken, that we will do this for our country, or patriotic songs they have written for their country. So all these things they have introduced. And as we know that when we hear Jangan Man, so definitely a feeling of patriotism get created inside us. So this is the effect of song, patriotic song, on the hearts of the people. So that is why at that time all these things were introduced by the revolutionaries. The next point is centralized administrative system. Centralized administrative system, that means the decision making body should be centralized. It must get influenced, the decision must be influenced by all the members who are the part of administrative system. It must not be on the hands of one individual. The power must not be concentrated in a single hand. All these things, all these points are related to centralized administrative system. Then internal custom duties abolished. At the time, for moving goods from one place to another place, internal custom duties were used. Okay, they used to take taxes. So With this, the revolutionaries have introduced the idea that internal custom duties they will abolish. Similarly, uniform weights and measurements were introduced. Earlier, we have seen that in European society, the measurement were not, means now we are using SI units and all, but at that time, standard units were not there. So this was creating a great problem for the merchants, for the businessmen, because the units what they are using at their local area, the amount of the thing or the measurement of the thing are not same to the area where they are selling their goods. So it was their loss or people loss because the units were not standardized. That is why the uniform weights and measures were introduced. And the last one is French became the common language. Like in India, we are saying so many languages. Okay, different languages are there. So similarly, there also different dialects were used. So what these revolutionaries have done, they have abolished the use of local dialects to promote the French which was spoken and written in Paris in the same form it was accepted throughout the France. Okay, likewise the French became the common language. Now come to the aim and purpose. With what aim and with what purpose revolutionaries have done all this thing? So the aim was to liberate people from despotism. Despotism, that is the aristocracy, the powers enjoyed by monarchy, all that. So the aim with which revolutionaries do all this thing was to end up the despotism. Why? Because they all are harassed. They were not happy with the king. Louis XVI and all his decisions and all. The people have to suffer. Third state people, they were suffering a lot. That is why they brought all these things. And with what purpose? To become nation. Earlier the concept of nation states was not there. Likewise the French Revolution happened and the series of events happened. After that the feeling of nationalism got developed among the people. Likewise it takes a little bit of time, but gradually the feeling got generated and they think about the nation now, that we all are one. Because if you will see all these points, okay, these points say that how these people are related to each other, how the people got united. So likewise, to make a nation, to become a nation, then they want France to make a nation. So with that purpose, they have brought all these changes in the French society. Then French Revolution. With whom? Means who were the key factor behind the French Revolution? These were the third state people. The third state people, we have seen that the first state people, second state people, that were the clergy and the nobility. But who were in the third state? Third state was comprised of the peasants, the farmers, the businessmen, the professionals, all this. So this farmers and workers, they have to work, but the middle class people, they were the businessmen and the professionals. They were a little bit educated and they were having money in their hands. So this formed the middle class, and the French Revolution was brought because of this middle class people only. So this middle class people, they brought the French Revolution, and inspired by the revolution in France, as in the introductory part I have told you that the territorial area in European countries were small, the geographical areas were small, so whatever is happening in one area, easily the news spread in another area. So here also, whatever revolution this middle class people were bringing, the news was spreading. So in French Revolution we have seen that Jacobins club was set up. So in the nearby European countries also, this middle class people were setting up their Jacobin club. Okay, so likewise these things happen and these are related to French Revolution. Now we are seeing about the Europe. So now come to the Napoleonic Code. Napoleonic Code. So this is also very important. From here, what we have seen till now, from here a 5-mark question usually generate, and you have to cover all these points, whatever we have seen here, all these points you have to cover in that. And from this Napoleonic Code, from here also generally 5-mark question used to arise in board examination. So now see the Napoleonic Code. Napoleonic Code, this is important for 1 mark, that Napoleonic Code is also called by the name Civil Code of 1804. Okay, for 1 mark. Now, as we know, when Napoleon come back. Okay, all the series, all the events, you know what happened. Means the third state people, they walked down in French Revolution, they walked down, then National Assembly formed, then Robespierre, Jacobins Club, all that things you know. And the French Revolution ended up with the coming of Napoleon. Okay, there they have ended the chapter in 9th standard. Now they are starting the chapter with the topic only, the Napoleon. So what happened when Napoleon came? So as Napoleon crowned himself as the Emperor of France. So one thing is very clear, that as he crowned himself as the Emperor of France, the democracy in France got ended up. With Napoleon, monarchy came back, and whatever struggle, whatever fight this French people have done for this years, okay, that was almost useless. Why? Because with him again the monarchical concept came back. Okay, now see what is the Napoleonic Code, and later on we are going to discuss with the failure and success of Napoleon. So the first point over here, the Napoleonic Code, is he did away all privileges based on birth. As we have seen that the privileges based on birth, European people, they were enjoying this a lot. Why only European? Throughout the world the concept was like that the son of the king will become the king. Okay, so likewise the privileges based on birth, if you are capable, if you are not capable, but just because you got birth in a royal family, in a noble family, you are going to continue the trail. Okay, so this thing he has abolished, he has taken away. Okay, that anyone will not get privilege because of birth. Second one is equality before law. Whether you belong to royal family or to a peasant or to a middle class family, if you have done crime, the law is equal to all. That is the second concept which Napoleon has introduced in his code. And the third one is right to property. We have seen the feudal system. In feudal system, people were suffering. Who were suffering? The third state people, mainly the farmers, the peasants. Why they were suffering? Because they were not having property. They have to work on the land provided by nobles, and they have to pay huge taxes. So this was totally their harassment. So when Napoleon came back, when Napoleon crowned himself as the monarch, so at that time he introduced the right to property. That means now the poor people, they can also have property, they can work on their property like this. So Napoleonic Code, three important points are there, and with these 3 points, the Napoleon become favorite among the different areas of the Europe. Why? Because all these points, whatever he has introduced in civil code, okay, so that are like the other people in the nearby territory like Germany, Lombardy, okay, they were thinking that if all these changes will come to our country, so that will be beneficial for us. So now see the positives and negatives of the Napoleon. As I told you that people in nearby countries, they were impressed with Napoleon. They also want that Napoleon should come to their country and make them free. So here are the success of Napoleon. So first success is that he captured a large area, nearby area of France. Okay, likewise he spread his message of France to the nearby areas. So now the first point is he simplified the administrative system. He has simplified it. He abolished feudal system, freed peasants from serfdom. Serfdom, that means the das pratha, that means you are the slave of the rich people. Then guild restriction removed. Guild restrictions, that means in urban areas, if people are joining together for a common purpose, for talking, for discussing something, we have seen that during the time of monarchy it was not allowed. But even though with Napoleon monarchy came back, but still he has not means this liberty he has given, that guild restrictions were removed. Then transportation and communication system has improved. People enjoy new freedom. How people enjoy new freedom? Because right to property he has given, equality before law he has given. So with this people were enjoying new freedom. Then uniform laws were introduced. Whether you are rich, whether you are poor, the law is same for all. Standardized weights and measurement, and common national currency was introduced. Common national currency, that means that Earlier there were different types of currencies used in throughout the Europe, but when Napoleon came back, when Napoleon crowned himself, so he has limited this currencies. Okay, so these are the success of Napoleon. Then come to the failure of Napoleon. Failure of Napoleon, there are 3 points in the failure of Napoleon.